Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing the Mutts 93's deck, a deck that they recently got the top 4 in the showcase qualifier with, so pretty good pedigree in this deck already. Thanks to a lovely kind donor, they're paying me to play this deck for you, which I'm really excited about. Now I did record with an earlier build of this deck a few days ago, however there was an issue with my sound. So there was no sound in the whole video, so I decided to not upload that and just re-recorded it. And this is obviously a slightly better and more refined list from what I can see compared to the one I played. But if you are interested in seeing that other video without the sound, let me know and I can upload it at like sort of double speed or triple speed or whatever, and you can just sort of watch it if you're interested as bonus content. But let me know, because I won't go to the trouble of editing it a little bit if people aren't interested. So let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's get through to this deck. So this is a deck with Dark Depths in, so you know I'm already on board, but it's more of like a sort of mid-rangey deck that has this win condition in it that doesn't necessarily need it compared to what we normally play. So we've got loads of stuff going on in here. So we've got a Green Sun Zenith package with things like Dryad Arbor, Sylvan Safekeeper, and then we're just going to be getting Reclaimers and Knights for the most part, but we do have the Collector Ouphe, Ramunap Excavator, and Grist as well. So we've got a whole bunch of different tools to sort of deal with various problems we might face. Then we've got 3 crop rotations, which kind of helps with our big lands package. So we've got 3 crop rotation, 4 Knight of the Reliquary, and 4 Elvish Reclaimer. So we're really good at finding that precise land we need at that moment, whether it be a Wasteland or a Maze of Ith or a Karakas, part of our combo, or Bojuka Bog. You know, we've got loads of options there, and we can use the Flagstones of Trokair here to sort of go up on mana. So we can go find this within Elvish Reclaimer. Then when we sack it, we actually net a land and go up a bit, which is pretty cool. We've got a lot more removal than you would normally see in these sorts of decks, especially in the list that I played the other day. So we've got 4 Swords to Plowshares and the 2 Prismatic Endings, which I'm a big fan of because I felt like I wanted more interaction when I played the similar version to this. And of course we have 3 Orcish Bowmasters, just an incredibly potent card. We're splashing black for this, but the black gives us some sideboard cards as well as better Prismatic Endings and the ability to cast Grist. Like you're going to have access to black mana anyway, so it doesn't hurt just to include like a Scrubland here and a Bayou here and just get these Bowmasters going as well. But because we are running Thoughtseize in the sideboard, which is quite often a turn 1 play, we do have the 2 Bayous to handle that. We have 2 Sylvan Libraries as well, just so we can get a bit more card advantage and stuff. And because we've got the Bowmasters, the Endings, and the Plows, we should be able to clear an opposing Bowmaster and really rinse this library for some useful card advantage. There's a lot going on with this deck, and I could talk about it for a long time, but I want to kind of get to the games a little bit because it's probably going to be quite a long one, this one, because the deck is good at grinding. So let's have a little chat about the sideboard. We've got some tools you'd expect and some tools that you might not expect. So a couple of chokes. These seem an absolute obvious choice if you're playing green and not playing blue. It's just so useful at just shutting down your opponent's mana. Big fan of this. We can ramp out a bit early with one of our 3 diamonds. Like I said, we've got the Thoughtseizers here to try and help with our combo matchup a little bit because, you know, we don't have counter spells and stuff. We're going to have to try and fight them somehow, which is also what Deafening Silence is doing in terms of slowing down some of these combo decks, whether they're throwing out a load of artifacts over and over again like the One Ring deck, or if they're just like a good old-fashioned Storm deck. It's going to be useful against either of those. We've got some artifact hate in the form of Force of Vigor if we need to destroy artifacts. We've got another Collector Ouphe because that's how important it is to get Collector Ouphe out against the sort of Paradox Engine One Ring decks. They can ignore a lot of your removal on artifacts, but if you can turn off their artifacts with a Null Rod effect like Collector Ouphe, then it really, really slows them down. And well, they can't win through a Collector Ouphe. That's how good it is. They have to find an answer to it. Well, they do have Khans, I suppose. So they can get some stuff that way going, and they have Urza Saga, but we should be able to handle those things very easily with what the rest of our decks do. And the only thing we can't handle is when they vomit loads and loads of stuff out. So that's what the extra Collector Ouphe's for. We have 3 Endurances, a Faerie Macabre, and a Sejiri Extraction. So we've got a different selection of pieces of graveyard hate here. The Endurances are obviously ones we can find off of the Zenith, but the Faerie Macabre is an uncounterable one because it's an activated ability, and the Sejiri Extraction can just rip out all of the thing that we're worried about. So they've got different applications. So we've got tools that overlap in terms of what we're bringing them in for, but they interact in slightly different ways. So that should be quite potent. I think we've spoken about this one enough. In the description, I'm going to link the Mutts 93's Twitter, so you can go and follow them. Obviously, they post really cool deck lists like this one, which is how we're playing it. So definitely check them out. And also, I'm going to put a link to Doogs, who's got a Twitch and a YouTube account. And they make some incredible legacy content. Really one of the premier legacy content creators out there. So you should definitely check out their stuff. They're always playing Green Sun Zenith style decks. And yeah, just go and subscribe to their channel. It's brilliant. And with that done, I should probably plug myself a little bit. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Check out the Patreon, Discord, whatever. Let's play some Legacy. I'm excited to see how this goes. All right, this is our opening hand. It needs a little bit of help, but a turn 1 Sylvan Library does an awful lot of work. So I think we're going to keep this one. Like, we've got a bit of removal, and we've got Sylvan Library to sort of pull ourselves away in this game and do some digging. Now, we do have to watch out for Orcish Bowmasters, but thankfully... Okay, so we'll play this one out because we don't mind if this one gets wastelanded. I'll finish that thought in a minute after I've finished playing these things. I think we're probably going to bin off the Sejiri Steppe here. And we'll go for this. The only question is, are we supposed to play this around a daze, or are we supposed to play it? They didn't play anything on their turn 1. That is not what any sort of tempo deck should be doing realistically. So I think we are going to play this out into what could be a daze here. Right, yeah. So I'm assuming they're just going to try and Bowmasters us, but then we have a plow to do that, and then we can just draw a bunch of extra cards. So the thought I was having earlier was, the thing about Bowmasters is, it has to be in play before we decide if we're drawing these cards or not, because it's a May. So if they don't have a Bowmasters, we can just draw the cards, and if they do, we just don't. We never get caught taking a load of damage unless that's something we want to do because we desperately need a card. Underground Sea from our opponent. That usually suggests something like an unfair deck, but with all these Grixis decks now in the format, because of Bowmasters. Oh, that's interesting. We might be looking at some sort of check pile, maybe? There's the Bowmasters, sure. We don't care about this. Well, we might care about this, but we'll see if we can plow it away in our upkeep. Let's cast a plow. And play around days. Alright, so now we get our Sylvan Library trigger. Yes, I would like to draw some extra cards. A Green Sun Zenith is nice. I don't really think we need either of these. Although if we play the Mox Diamond, we can get another... We can get a bigger thing off of this. So I think we put this on top, and then we pay 4. So let's jam down this Mox Diamond here. And I think we're pitching this Plains. So we can play a land, and we can go and get ourselves... I do kind of want to shuffle here. We could just go and get ourselves an Elvish Reclaimer here and get the Wasteland off. That feels quite efficient to me. Or we could hold off and try and get a Ramunap Excavator. But Elvish Reclaimer is just such a powerful card here. So let's get the Reclaimer. And I would like to cut our opponent off of blue mana, ideally. Since, you know, best card in Legacy, let's try and cut it off. Also makes our creature a 3/4, so we're going to dodge a lot of removal spells like Lightning Bolt and things like that. Okay, so they have access to blue mana. They could just be like a Grixis deck. This could just be like a red land. They might not actually be like full-on check pile with all the colours. Alright, so let's see what we draw for this. A Maze of Ith and a Savannah. Am I interested in either of these things? I'm not like not interested in them, but I think we're going to not draw additional cards with this just yet. Are we attacking first? I think we're just going to go to attacks here and try and get a little bit of damage in. Problem here is if they have a Orcish Bowmasters, I guess they have to put a lot of stuff under the bus in that case, right? They have to put the actual Bowmasters itself, and I don't mind trading this for a bunch of stuff. So I think we're going to get that damage in relatively reliably here. And then we'll go for our friend. Let's have a Knight of the Reliquary. So we're doing this around some soft permission, like days or whatever. Right, they're fishing for some sort of force of will action because obviously Knight of the Reliquary is going to get out of hand very quickly. Alright, so we've got force of will, pitching an Uro. Uro is something we don't have to worry about whilst we have a Reclaimer because we can go and fetch a Bojuka Bog if it ends up in their graveyard at any point. So that's a pretty reasonable one for them to exile to the force of will. There is a Tropical Island. Okay, so this is going to shut off our Sylvan Library. But we do have an Elvish Reclaimer, which can just do all the things we need it to do. So we know the top card of our library is the Maze of Ith. Do we care about that? I think it's the Maze of Ith that's on top, not the Savannah. No, it is the Savannah. Okay, my mistake. We're not going to draw any extra cards because Bowmaster's here. And we will play out our land. I'm just going to hold back with a Reclaimer, and we can just crack the Flagstones into Thespian stage. The next turn we can make a 20/20, sort of pivot into that line. Let's see what they have here. An Uro, sure. So we might want to be getting a Bojuka Bog here instead to stop the Uro coming back. It does slow down what we're doing a little bit here though. But I think the way that we lose this game is if the Uro gets out of hand. Sacrifice this. This goes and gets us a Plains. I don't think our mana base is going to be under threat here. I want to get green source. And then this will go and get the Bojuka Bog. We will get rid of this Uro. So we don't have to worry about that. It's a little bit of a conservative line here. Ugh, this is not really good, is it? Say no to this. And pass the turn, and then we can settle back into this turn we get Thespian Stage, next turn we get Dark Depths. Because the land we get comes in tapped, so if we get the Dark Depths second, we can have an untapped Thespian Stage once it comes into play, and then turn it into the Dark Depths. A Minsk and Boo. Okay, that's an interesting one. So now we might need a Karakas. That'll answer the Minsk and Boo. We're kind of playing a bit of damage limitation here, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of good draws here. Some reasonable answers to what they've got in play. Sacrifice this Bojuka Bog. Go and get ourselves a Karakas. And that can deal with the Minsk and Boo. We are not using our Sylvan Library. Get Flagstones out. And then we will pass. There's a Misty Rainforest for our opponent. We're going to attack with the hamster. And return this. So why are they attacking with this guy? That means punishing fires, I think. So we're just going to leave off of that for now. Do need to watch our life total a touch here. Another array. So the Karakas can check this, but we only have one Karakas. This also puts their life total up to an annoying number. Yep, so they're plussing this with no targets. Right, so let's thin our deck out a little bit and get something like a Thespian Stage here. So this one gets us a Scrubland, and then this one has to be the Thespian Stage. We can't really wasteland our opponent off of anything good. I think we just get the stage. That gives us the opportunity to make a 2020. Ramunap Excavator can replay our Bojuka Bog. Our own Bowmasters. Okay, we are in the market for casting this one, I think. They can get the Euro back relatively soon, perhaps. So we can either try and ping away this Bowmasters. I think we do just want to get this Bowmasters gone. So the other option is to make them down to 20 and try and go heavily in on that line. But I think the ability of just having the Sylvan Library doing its thing is too good. Sylvan Safekeeper is okay here. I think we'll put this on top. Alright, so we kind of got to filter the top two cards a little bit. We have a choice here. So for 2 mana gets us a Dark Depths. Then we have 2 mana to activate it, and then this to bounce it. So I think we're just going to pass here. We also have a token creature, so Shoulder's Edict won't stop us. You can see what I mean about the grindy nature of this deck. Like just an Elvish Reclaimer on its own gives you so many options and lines and the ability to answer permanents. So we've answered 2 of our opponent's best permanents just because of Elvish Reclaimer here. A Ponder into our onboard Orcish Bowmasters. I like that one. We can ping them down to 20, which means our Marit Lage will be lethal in one swing. It's nice. Ping them for 1. Crack a Misty Rainforest. 1, 2, 3. An Orcish Bowmasters of their very own. Sure. They're pinging us. That's interesting. Okay. Sacrifice a creature. So they're going to ping us for 3. I think we are still bouncing this Boo. This lets them draw a card. We don't want them to draw a card. We kind of have the wind sewn up. We don't want them to draw anything useful here. So they can ping us for 3 here. And they have a Lightning Bolt. Yeah, I think they get us to turn before we get them. Yeah. So this is going to be 3 and it's going to take us down to 0. Yeah. They got us to turn before we got them. That was a good game. A lot of back and forth there. Alright. So, for some sort of... I have to assume they have Punishing Fire in their deck. So we're looking at the full check pile here. Getting rid of Uro once and for all is something that I'm certainly interested in. These chokes are definitely coming in. The endurances kind of do similar things to the Surgical Extraction, except they also can pressure and do a whole bunch of stuff. So I think I'm more into this. Bowmaster's going to be pretty good here. We're going to want Plows. Other of our lands aren't useful. Bojuka Bog, we're going to want Karakas, we're going to want Maze of Ith, we're going to want... Yeah, I don't think we can trim any of our special lands here. Which means this is the point where it gets more difficult in terms of how we're sideboarding. I guess the crop rotations against a counterspell deck never feels amazing. Collector Ouphe, not doing anything in this matchup. I like the Grist, I like the Knights, the Green Suns, the Bowmasters. We only have to trim 1 because we're a 61 card deck. We could trim... Prismatic Ending is an answer to a bunch of stuff our opponent can have. Do we want the Safekeeper? Safekeeper is kind of interesting here. I guess we don't want to draw 2 libraries. So maybe we trim a library. We could board in things like Thoughtseize and stuff here as well. But I think we just want to be playing to the board and going that way about it. Like we have Karakas, which can answer a Minsk and Boo. And we've got some good other bits and pieces going on. This is a very slow hand that does eventually assemble the Wasteland lock. But I think it is too slow. You need to mulligan for something to play on the first couple of turns of the game. Yeah, this is not much good either, is it? I think I have to keep this and hope we find a green source here. Oh, we've got a green source. We have to find Something to play in the interim, I suppose. I think we are turn 1 Sejiri Steppe tap, so we have at least access to Prismatic Ending going forward. We don't really want to wasteland our opponents straight away, but if they don't do anything, maybe we have to, and hope that we can just put them in the dirt. But if they just leave an uncracked fetch, we can't really do that. A choke. Okay, so this is a payoff that we can try and resolve soon. They have shown us punishing Grove of the Burn Willow, sorry, which is something that's going to untap under choke. Okay, so let's go for a Sylvan Library again. I imagine they're just going to play Orcish Bowmasters and ping us here. Yep, so they're going for the Bowmasters. Right, we'll hit the C and just try and disrupt their mana base a little bit. If we hit the C, it encourages them to get more islands, which is what we want them to do. Because blue is probably going to be their central colour, because it's the best colour. They need blue for Uro and all their cantrips, so they need lots of turn 1 blue sources. Right, so here's Orcish Bowmasters, shutting off our library. So we can kill this with our Prismatic Ending, then wasteland the Grove. A second Bowmasters. Okay, so this is going to grow their guy to a 2-2, so they're going to get 3 damage in here, plus the ping that they got. So, a real clock. So this isn't doing anything here. So we could wasteland our opponent, or we could cast a choke. If we slam the choke now, next turn we could play the Ramunap Excavator and wasteland. And take them off of Grove of the Burn Willows. Now, we have to beat what's on board, but we definitely have the tools that we can do that. Ramunap Excavator can check a decent number of these creatures. And once we get the wastelands up and running, we should be okay. So the question here is, I think we don't want to play the Ramunap Excavator out into a lightning bolt. I think we're better off playing this, wastelanding their Grove, and then playing the Endurance as a surprise blocker to eat up one of their guys. Just colourless mana. I'll go to our opponent's turn. So we've taken quite a bit of chip damage here, but we should be able to stem the tide this turn. We are representing Endurance mana, so whether or not they attack with their Bowmasters will be interesting. The cautious attack is just the army token. Yeah. So I think we want to Bayou here. We want to put cards on the bottom of their library because they have Uro. We don't want them to ever be casting that. Force of Will, pitching Dak Fadenge. So we just take the 2 here. Interesting that they had the Force of Will. Alright, so we can play this guy. And then we can play the Wasteland here and say no to Tropical Island. You're going to brainstorm a response. The other option there we had was to cast some of our white removal. But that's going to come next turn, I think. So we can try and cast Source to Plowshares and Prismatic Ending at the same turn and get rid of... Might have to be their Orc army. Because if this just gets one bigger, we're going to be in trouble. So we'll have to work out what the board looks like when we get to our turn. Okay, so they have a land that's not an island. And taps for blue mana. That's pretty good. This might shuffle. They did not shuffle. That's interesting. Are they going to try and get in some chip damage here? Or they... Okay, they're valuing their bodies. Say no to the library. Play this Wasteland. I do love Wasteland locking people. It does make me... We'll get rid of one of the bow boys. And in our upkeep, we can plow the other Bowmasters, then get to see more cards. We're not really paying any life unless it's going to be really good for us. But our opponent needs like red source, lightning bolt here. Let's plow this guy and get our Sylvan Library back online. Grist the Hunger Tide is pretty good, as is the Green Sun Zenith. Kind of want them both, but I don't know if I can pay 4 life against our opponent's deck, which is kind of awkward. I think we're putting this on top. Then we put the Green Sun Zenith on top, then the Scrubland, and then we play our Wasteland from the graveyard, cast our Grist. So we can mill the top card of our library, which is the Scrubland we don't want. That gives us another blocker. And then next turn we're drawing the Green Sun Zenith, which can go and get us an Endurance if we want to shut off their graveyard, or it can get us neither a Reliquary if we just want to make a big creature. So we've got a lot of options coming up here. I think playing it cautiously and not paying the 4 life is good. The bind we've got our opponent in here with the Wasteland Lock plus Choke means that our opponent's going to struggle to close this game out unless it's just like the odd burn spell here and there. So we're trying our best to make sure they don't have that opportunity. Grow the Burn Willows. Sure, we can double Wasteland them next turn. That does come at the cost of us Green Sun's anything. Alright, they're scooping it up. I think we had them in a pretty good spot there. Don't want to do anything differently. Is Path to Exile looking good in this matchup? I think it is, because they're not showing us anything in the way of basic lands. So I think I'll take this and I'll get rid of this Safekeeper. So we've just got a real nice chunk of removal here. A solid 7 spells that will kill basically anything. And then we've got the 3 Bowmasters that can ping off the main threat they seem to be deploying at the moment, which is the Bowboys. We can also use the Bowmasters to kill our opponent's Minsk token. I do love drawing this Sylvan Library, don't I? I think this is a keep though. We'll keep this. Interesting to know what goes back. Bojuka Bog actually has some pretty useful text in this matchup. So I'm inclined to keep the Bojuka Bog and bin off the Arbor to the Mox Diamond here. So go like Mox Diamond, Thespian Stage, Sylvan Library. Or we could just go and get an Elvish Reclaimer on turn 1 with our Zenith. That's the thing we fancy. But maybe this is the one game they don't have the Bowboys. Our opponent kept 6 cards. The classic Polluted Delta go. So I want the Thespian Stage. I want this Mox Diamond. What are we seeing here? A Volcanic Island and a Brainstorm. I think we still go for the Arbor here. We'll go for the Library. Chances of our opponent having Bowmasters are about 100%, I think. That's not true, but I think the upside of having Library is so high. I'm going to cast it in our turn. Or do they just not have it for one? I don't know if our opponent's deck can play Force of Vigor. I think that might be a bit of a stretch in terms of the amount of green cards. Alright, they're cracking their Polluted Delta. They're going to find a Badlands. They're going to cast a Bowboys. There it is. Every time. Yep, meat is very much back on the menu. These Sylvan Libraries have been awkward, I would describe them as. We're not going to pump their guys here. So what are we doing now? I think we're playing Maze of Ith as a defensive piece here. And then I think we need to get this Green Sun Zenith going. And go and get our guy. Let's get Reclaimer. He's only a 1-2. So a second Bowboys will kill it. So we have to make that calculation. I think we're probably just going to bounce off the Orc army if it attacks. Like, they could bluff us, but I think it's just worth Maze of Ith in this. And if they want to trade... I don't know if we want to trade our Elvish Reclaimer for a Bowmaster's ping and the Bowmasters itself. We are liable to get hit by a Punishing Fire as well now, which isn't great for us. We could play something like an Uro this turn, which lines up our Bojuka Bog very nicely. A Dak Faden. This is a disaster. This steals our Mox Diamond. Yeah, our opponent is very far ahead now. We desperately need to find another source. We can't just let them pump their guy and ping and kill our guy, so we have to say no to this. So we can wasteland some stuff here. Our opponent only has one. I guess they have more blue sources now because of the Mox Diamond we've just given them. I guess we have to play the wasteland, and we're going to have to get Yavimaya, I think. So we sit back on this, and then we'll swap the Maze of Ith for a Yavimaya, or we'll swap the Thespian Stage for a Yavimaya, or we'll swap the wasteland for a Yavimaya. Our opponent's not really got any problem with mana over there, so I think that's where we go. So they're targeting themselves, not us. Okay. If they target us, they do get to kill our Reclaimer. Or I suppose if we discard 2 lands, it will get pumped up enough to survive the Bowmasters. Ponder and Underground Sea. Yeah, this wasteland isn't really where we need to be right now. Minsk and Boo. Yeah, that's a bit of a disaster. Alright, our chance of winning this game is very much disappearing. Say no to Minsk and Boo. So the question is, are we still going for the Yavimaya? I think we have to, because we need to be able to play our spells this game, otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. Go to this wasteland. A lightning bolt. That's pretty good. Does that change what we get? No. We still get the Yavimaya here. A wasteland. Alright. So we get the Karakas there, if instead, and bounce this. But then we are massively under threat from this, and they'll just draw and discard us. And then we're going to be dead in a few turns. I think we needed to get the Yavimaya and try and draw a white source. We didn't draw a white source though, so that's kind of awkward. I guess we play this one out now. Might as well. And then we pass. So we can Maze of Ith this Minsk and Boo, or we can play an Endurance and gobble up the Bowboys. That's what I would like to try and do here. If we can get our library back on, maybe we can dig ourselves out of this hole. I have to imagine that our opponent's matchup is pretty good against us, because they are quite controlling deck that's very good at board control, and they have these Planeswalkers that just constantly go over the top. How many guys are coming in? The whole team, you say? Green, green, green. Now, they've got Hardcast Force of Will available, so this could definitely still eat it to some sort of removal spell. Our opponent's tapping some mana here. Saturn's Trophy. Okay, that's pretty good. That gives us white mana. I say pretty good. It's, you know, it's pretty bad. Our opponent's about to draw 4 cards and then filter those cards with their Dack Faden, because they're going to sacrifice their Minsk and Boo to the... They're going to sacrifice their Boo to the Minsk and Boo. Yeah. So we take 4. They go and draw 4 cards, and then they Dack Faden to filter them into the best things they can get. And then we play the Knight of the Reliquary and die. 1, 2 lands. We can play a Wasteland. That can get in the bin. Still target themselves. Seems fair enough. Yeah, this Sylvan Library has been awkward, I would say. I just wanted our opponent to not have Bowmasters one time. Like, we definitely leveraged the library to win game, to win the game that we won. Dark Depths, maybe? A Bowmasters of our very own. Okay, I can see this being useful. Force of Will. Pitching Brainstorm. Alright, that doesn't get to do anything. Okay, we play our Wasteland. Green, white, green. Play our Knight of the Reliquary. It's a 4/4. It's just an okay-ish size. We can Maze of Ith away the Minsk and Boo. Endurance, that's going to shrink our Knight. Yeah, I don't think we can win this game. Our opponent's also, you know, they got this Dack Fade and all sorts. I don't think it's worth our time to keep playing this one out. They're going to kill us in 2 turns, I think. Yeah, it's pretty awkward. The Sylvan Library definitely jammed us up a whole bunch there. We could have taken slightly different lines of getting the Karakas instead of the Yavimaya, but I think we have to turn our spells on and try and get there. Otherwise, what are we really doing, right? Okay, let's go to round 2. We are on the play. We have the ability to make a turn 1 Sylvan Library. So, it's good. We'll keep it. Because we don't know what our opponent's on, I think we're going to go for the Windswept Heath into a basic forest. And then we're going to Mox Diamond, and we are going to get rid of this Maze of Ith. Then we're going to try and jam a Sylvan Library. If we get 1 turn of Sylvan Library, that's something. If this forces out a counter spell, we can then untap and play a Grist or a Knight. And that's quite a potent follow-up. Force of Will, pitching Baleful Strix. So we're probably on some sort of control-y deck, I would imagine. Or it could be... I don't think Tempo Doomsday wants to run Baleful Strix, but maybe. And something like Death Shadow, potentially. Okay, we might be on the Bug Scam deck, perhaps. A lot of options. Alright, looks like we're getting scammed. So we're not going to have any spells at the end of this turn, because they're probably going to reanimate this Grief. So we're going to get somewhat bodied here. Yep, we took the Grist. And they have the Reanimate. They do. Okay, so we are... Oh, they're reanimating our Grist. Okay, that's not great for us either. Because we play this Knight and then next time they can minus the Grist and kill her. So we're going to need some help here. Is Crop Rotation enough help? I don't just want to play this Knight of the Reliquary out to immediately die. We are so far behind already. I'm playing out the Savannah. Just thinking, if we Crop Rotate, what do we have to find? Not a lot of great options, to be honest. Don't think it's worth Knight of the Reliquary just to... I think we just have to pass here. Hold up the Crop Rotation. Polluted Delta. They can't cast a Murktide because they only have 1 blue source if this gets them a blue source. Yep. You get buried by our own Grist. Grist is such a good card. Right. So we're not taking like massive amounts of damage, but I'm not really sure how we get back into this unless we can find like an Endurance. But I think those are in the sideboard. Okay, so now we have a play that we get to make. We can play out the Elvish Reclaimer. And then we can Sejiri Steppe to protect it from the Grist. That's not a terrible plan. And then we can untap and jam a Knight. Right? This also turns our Reclaimer into big enough to survive. We can come unstuck with a counterspell. So I'm going to turn our Savannah into a Sejiri Steppe. Okay. Do our creature pro-black. They're abrupt decaying it as well. Okay. Unfortunately, that exchange has ended poorly for us. We're getting Wastelanded as well. We are. Yeah, our opponents, their draw was a little bit more unfair than ours, I think. Like the Grief Reanimate type strategy is very potent. We can play this Knight that will immediately die. Are we playing this Bayou into potential Wasteland? I don't think so. I think we just have to hold with this. And we're trying to draw something like a Bowmasters would be good. Be able to pressure the Grist slightly. Alternatively, we could draw a Prismatic Ending. Have to ending our own Grist so that we can actually start deploying things to the board. But we're just in a situation where we can't play a bunch of our cards. Like all they'll do is -2 the Grist. And if we don't draw immediate follow-up threats turn after turn after turn, we can't overload this Grist because it will just recharge again. We've got a little bit of time. We're not taking huge amounts of damage, but we are a million miles behind. Turn 1 Grist is pretty strong. Right, so now we're getting punished the other way. So we didn't play out the Knight of the Reliquary because it was dead to the onboard things. But now they're reanimating and taking the card anyway. So we are getting absolutely destroyed this game. Which, you know, sometimes happens. It's no good, is it? I think we pass. We're going to see more of our opponent's deck. Let's pop the graveyard out just so we can keep an eye on it. Yep, obviously Orcish Bowmasters, because why wouldn't they have Bowmasters? Ramunap Excavator. So we can get the Excavator, immediately get back a Windswept Heath, or the Maze of Ith. Okay. I think the Maze of Ith is going to buy us a lot of turns, so it's worth doing here. Because Maze of Ith shuts off the Grief, and the other creatures can attack, but one of them is going to die to their Grist to kill our Ramunap Excavator. But we're heading in the right direction. It's not even true. We're treading a little bit of water, I suppose. Oh, they're just making another guy. That's kind of more scary in a lot of ways. This is Abrupt Decay, I guess here. Shouldered's Edict. Goodbye, our creature. You get to prevent a little bit of damage. A Green Sun Zenith. Can this even get anything good? I guess we have to at least force our opponent's hand in minusing the Grist. We'll go and get ourselves a Reclaimer. We are getting to see a decent chunk of our opponent's deck though, due to the mills off of the Grist, which you know, is not exactly a victory, but it's a small margin that helps. Maybe that Shouldered's Edict is interesting. Yep, so they're getting rid of our Elvish Reclaimer now, which takes a little bit of damage off the clock. They lose one of their guys. Say no to their Grief again. So we take 3 this turn. How many creatures they have in their graveyard? Just the 1. So they can shoot us for 1 with the Grist immediately. That's not enough to kill us. So we might get one more draw step. Right, so we got these Orcish Bowmasters. So we have a thing that does a thing. A Grief. Okay, so we're definitely casting this in response. So ping down one of the insects, as sad as that is. This Grief just goes to the bin. That gives them 2 creatures in their graveyard now for when they get close to doing the Grist minus. Just going to make another guy. An array. We expected that. Doesn't hurt to have the confirmation. Okay, so we get rid of this Grief first. Go to blocks. Is it worth us blocking with the Bowmasters here? It's bad, but I think we probably have to. Just preserve our life total for a few more turns. Maybe we should scoop this one up. See, yep, so they got a Ponder. That's the punish for letting the Bowmasters die. But they got 3 creatures, so Grist is doing us 3 damage next turn, plus the insect token is 4. This is 5, so they have exactly lethal here. So we'll take a draw step and probably scoop it up. Alright. Yeah, we got handled pretty effectively there, mainly because of our own Grist was just unbeatable for us. Imagine how good it would be if it was on our side of the board. So chokes are good, Collector Ouphe looks bad. Sylvan Safekeeper doesn't really stop versus some of the things that we're trying to... These Sylvan Libraries, they feel like a liability, right? Let's swap these out, and that gives us another slot where we could have something like a Path to Exile. That seems alright. We also want these Endurance, actually, don't we? Because Endurance is going to be really good against the Uros and such. Are we looking at going slower and boarding out these Mox Diamonds? Against all their discard and stuff, I don't want to be getting caught by all the pitch spells. Or are we getting rid of these crop rotations? Might be better, actually. We could bring in our own Thoughtseize here instead of these Mox Diamonds. Play the game at a slightly slower pace. Although Mox Diamond into turn 1 Bowmasters is so good. Alright, I've convinced myself into having the Mox Diamonds over them. The Thoughtseize are mainly there for the combo matchups. Alright. This is a very unexciting hand, but it's probably okay. We've got time in this matchup, so just having 3 good things to cast is not a terrible spot to be. We do have to decide when we're playing our lands out though. I think we just start off with a Windswept Heath. This gives us options in terms of being able to plow or finding a Dryad Arbor if that becomes something that we might be interested in doing. But we'll see. I think we're just going to go to our turn. We know our opponent's graveyard is an important zone for them, so I don't really want to use this Bojuka Bog. I think I'm going to play out this Thespian stage and rely on trying to draw one of our many mana sources. Our deck's got a lot of mana in it. I don't mind getting rid of the Bojuka Bog to a Mox Diamond, because at least we can then bring it back with Ramunap Excavator. But just playing out early feels a bit awkward when we don't have an immediate way of sacrificing it, like a crop rotation or an Elvish Reclaimer. Because Uro is definitely one of the things that can take over a game. I don't want to deal with that. Our opponent's cracking a fetch at the end of the turn. Doing an end of turn brainstorm or something. Interesting. That is normally a desperation play for looking for lands. Or it could be that they have like a really important turn 2 lined up. So maybe making us discard and reanimating something like that. And they want to set up for that. That's sort of the two general options. Unless they have like a 2-drop that they're really keen on playing. But I don't think Bowmasters is actually that good on this board. Like, you know, it's fine, but I don't think it's worth burning a brainstorm for. This card is pretty good against us. I don't really want to have to be ploughing these. But we can just kind of play Knights of the Reliquary in theory. We do need to find a mana this turn. We need to draw into a land. Come on, deck. Let's draw into a white... Grief. Okay. So they can't do too much to us here. Because we've got 2 doubles. So we can lose a plough, we can lose a knight, or we can lose a Ramunap. Ramunap is obviously the only card that they can actually take us off completely. So they might go for that one. Or they might just get rid of the knight because it's like the best card in our decks, pretty much. Right, they just took the Ramunap. Sure. I don't want to get Wasteland locked. Understandable. There's enough cards in our opponent's graveyard. I don't mind playing out as Bojuka Bog if I have to. Karakas. Okay. Crack this for... Do you want basic forest here? We've got 2 white spells we might want to cast. I think I'm more inclined to get the Savannah. There's no point getting a black source here because the spell that we would want to be casting is Grist. Like we can cast Bowmaster, we can cast Alpha Bojuka Bog next turn. I think we're just going to get Savannah. Let's see what answers they have for this. Alright, so we have a Knight of the Reliquary. If we get to untap with this, life becomes a lot better for us. A Wasteland. What are going to take us off of? Nothing. Interesting. Just an Uro. Okay, so now we get to cast... we get to play our Bojuka Bog next turn. That's going to be real nice. Ideally, we don't want our opponent to put in... Alright, so they put in the Wasteland there. So we can still get Wastelanded here. They want to do it now before our Knights... I was going to say before our Knight can untap, but our Knight's not going to untap. Because it's dead! Alright, 1 from the Baleful Strix. Not a big amount of damage, but our opponent's got so much removal for us to get through. We're losing our green source. Wish I'd have got the basic forest now. Play this. Get rid of our opponent's graveyard. So the thing they've been building up to do is cast the Uro here. So we've at least weathered that storm. But we will need to find a green source here. I just didn't want to be wastelanded off of white as the thing because most of our hand is white spells. So I wanted to make sure we could at least interact with our white spells. Like if they had something like a Murktide or whatever, I would need answers for that. That's why I got this Savannah. I think we played to a potential risk here. These decks tend to only run like 2-ish wastelands because... You know, they're deep into casting things like Uro, and their colours are quite stretched. Actually, no, I think they run 3 Wasteland. I think I will just plough this. As sad as that is, I think we just need some turns to try and develop our mana now. So we could be looking at another one of these coming down, or we could be looking at Bow Boys. We'll see. Could be an instant speed Bow Boys in case we play an X one. Right, we have nothing. Any other land lets our Thespian Stage become a green source as well, which isn't the end of the world. Dress down. Oh, are they a Dreadnought deck maybe? Or is this just a card that's good that they're playing? Which is, I guess we're about to find out. They're reanimating our Ramunap Excavator. So we are in our own Wasteland lock, but not this turn because of the dress down. We've got 1 turn to kill our own Ramunap Excavator before we are in the dirt. Oh, Wasteland. That's not really going to do it, is it? There's not even a basic on the field for us to copy with our Thespian Stage, which is also pretty awkward. So now they're going to Wasteland us every turn, and that's going to suck. Yeah, basically, our deck is clearly better than theirs because the things they're killing us with both times are our own cards, right? So our own cards are too powerful. We can't beat them. That's what's happened here. We're definitely tripping up over our mana a little bit, though. All right, opponents. How miserable am I going to be? There's a world where they don't wasteland us. Okay. So they've given us a slight chance here. We have access to green mana now. Okay, they're taking out our plows, which they know we have in hand. Okay. So Wasteland is not a coloured source, so we can't Prismatic Ending this Ramunap Excavator. So we have 1 turn to find something here. Quite what that something is beyond me, I'm afraid. Alright, we're going to take a little nibble. 2, yeah. Like, our opponent's deck is just designed to stop us from ever having anything in play. Right, so we can play our land, and then what? Then we lose the game? I assume they're going to take out like our Bayou or something here. Probably, okay, they're going to take that one rather than the Thespian Stage. That's interesting. A Dryad Arbor. That's not the one, is it? I have to keep playing stuff out so that we at least have a hope of being able to cast a spell at some point in this game, but this isn't particularly entertaining Magic for you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm the one who wanted to assemble Wasteland locks. There's a Ponder. There's the Wasteland again. There goes our green source. Right, we still have a Dryad Arbor, but they can just smash that up pretty easily. Oh, there it goes. They're going to get the perfect victory. We have no permanents in play. Flagstones. Okay, that's one that they can't actually Wasteland effectively. That's certainly a start. We do have a... I think we have a Path to Exile in our deck. Let me just check my sideboard. We do have a Path to Exile, so we do have a 1-mana way of killing it. Wastelanding our Flagstone is not very helpful, so that's nice. And Wastelanding our Wasteland. We could Wasteland our own Flagstones, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think we're just going to Wasteland Underground Sea. Not that it matters. Our opponent's just going to ride this Wasteland lock to victory. But we have some paths to success here. Is Dark Depths one of those paths right now? I don't think it's worth playing. Like, we can hold this one in hand for a Mox because it doesn't actually add to our mana base. There's the Wasteland. They can Wasteland our Flagstones and slowly start getting us that way. Okay, so they're reanimating our Knight of the Reliquary. Do they even have win condition in their deck? Who knows? They just have a whole bunch of removal. It feels like a very tough matchup here. Orcish Bowmasters. Nope, that doesn't do it. So our opponent's got 6 damage here. So even if we have the thing, we are dead, right? Yeah, we're just done. So both games we just got killed by our own cards, which is somewhat frustrating, but does show you the power that our deck has, just not in our hands, apparently. All right, we're 0-2, not a great start. I think when I recorded with a different version of this deck, very close, it was like 2 or 3 cards different. I finished 3-2 in the one I didn't upload, which obviously if you do want to see with no sound, because I didn't have sound, then comment below. But, you know, I think this deck is actually very good. I think the version we're playing is definitely improved on the one I played last time. But these 2 matchups we've played are just dedicated control decks that are going to smash us pretty hard. All right, let's go to round 3. All right, this is our opening hand for the 3rd round. Our mana base is a bit awkward because it's kind of asking us to get a Savannah here. But we are just in the dirt if that gets Wastelanded. So hopefully we'll get some information about our opponent's deck from turn 1 and we'll decide. Okay, Prismatic Vista usually means sort of like these blue-white control decks that are very light on things like Wasteland. So I think Savannah might be a better shout here. It's going to be a Ponder. There it is. Yeah, I reckon we can get the Savannah here. Although the next question is, how important are these white spells in this matchup? And the answer is probably not very. Which kind of makes me want to get the basic forest instead. I think the correct play is Savannah though. We don't want to be shut off of too many of our spells. And if we can get to turn 2 and drop a Sylvan Library and it can stick, then a whole multitude of sins are erased at that point anyway. Okay, a fatal push on our Elvish Reclaimer from our opponent off of the swamp they found with their polluted delta. I'm starting to get the impression they might be ninjas. Alright, so this time I think I want to play the Flagstones into, I think it is the library. The upside of it resolving is just too high. We've got lots of removal if they are ninjas. So maybe our hand is actually good. A daze. Alright. I suspect if they are ninjas, they might be ninjas with Bowmasters. There it is. There's the ninjas. So this can get flipped into whatever ninja they need to. So what are we getting here? I think we're just going to go and get this Windswept Heath. And I would like to Prismatic Ending this Ornithopter. They need a starting creature because all the ninjas are overcosted because of their undercosted ninja effect. Do I want to play this Green Sun Zenith for a knight, for an elf right now into a daze? Do I think they have another daze? We know they've got a black spell because they looked like they were going to cast a black spell last turn and then untapped. Is it worth our while here? I think we'll go and get ourselves, probably should be a Bayou, and then we'll go for the Green Sun Zenith this turn, because next turn the problem is we're going to be holding up our removal once they play some creatures. Although, think about it, are they just playing Bowmasters at end step? And that's their creature. Yeah, I think that's probably what's happening here. So we need to hold up the Source to Plowshares now, and we shouldn't have fetched with the Bayou, I think. Yep, here's the Bowmasters. Okay, so you have to let this hit us. And then if they turn it into a ninja, we will blow it up. The ninja, that is. Ninjas and Bowmasters, pretty cool. We'll just take a 2 here. Right, no ninja. Interesting. Maybe they're not on ninjas. Why would you have Ornithopter in your deck if you're not on ninjas? That's the question there. Alright, so we got this. We're looking at Prismatic Ending for 2 on the Bow Boys here. And then we'll pass, holding up the Plow for a ninja that comes in. And then maybe we can try and win the game some point soon. That'd be nice. We're at the Thespin stage away from getting there. Okay, so they're cracking their Prismatic Vista. 3 damage coming in. This tells me that our opponent has a second ninja, because that's why they've kept this mana open. And it's very suspicious not bouncing the Bowmasters as well then. So if we try and plow this, they just turn it into a different ninja. So I think we say, let them have a damage and kill it end step, as annoying as that is. Retrofit's Foundry. Okay. Right, let's just try and nail this Yuriko. Opponent's got 1 card in hand. So Daze might be a thing, but I'm pretty sure they've got a ninja. The way they played that turn, the way they weren't playing out their ninja until they had the ability to do it twice. So what is... Alright, our opponent just clicked the wrong orc, so that's okay for us. So we'll go for this knight, and then we'll pass. I think our opponent's misclick there might cost them a little bit. We shall see though. A Shouldered's Edict, you say? I will sacrifice my only creature. And an Ornithopter. Okay, they didn't have the second ninja. I thought they did. Alright. But they are going to start churning things out, and this can become a 4-4 because this is already a Thopter, so the retrofit's going to turn it into a 4-4 immediately. So we're looking for Thespin stage or a crop rotation in an ideal world. Elvish Reclaimer is kind of like that. Or we could have a Knight of the Reliquary. Or we could have... How big is our Knight going to be? 1, 2. It's only going to be a 4-4. So it's not going to fare well into this. It's kind of awkward, isn't it? But if we go and get the Knight, it does give us like the win the turn after, I think. This is the best play. And we know this will resolve because our opponent's got no cards in hand. Yep, so they're going to get their 4-4. We could get a Collector Ouphe here. We could get a Grist. How does that change things? I think we just get the Knight of the Reliquary and just say, we're going to make a 20-20 on the next turn. Can you beat that? And hopefully they'll say no, and then we'll have a good time. So this is 2 mana to make a guy, 3 mana on tap, 1 mana to get a thing. So that's a 6 mana play. They only have 4 mana at present. So they shouldn't be able to, unless they draw run a land. Which isn't the worst for us because they're only drawing lands. Brainstorm, sure. So they can make a retrofit this turn. And then next turn they can turn it into a flyer. But we do... what do we have to get around that, actually? Sejiri Steppe won't work because they're colourless. It's a little bit tough. But the construct token can attack this turn but not next turn. Because the Knight will be big enough because we'll have Knight activation or Wasteland available. Do they find a fetch land to go with their Brainstorm or are they just locked? Yeah, we have to take the 4 here. If they turn this into a ninja, it's not the end of the world for us. No ninja. Changing Outcast. That's legitimately a threat right now. Elvish Reclaimer, you say? So this gets a land untapped, so we need 2 mana for this. Which means we can deploy a Reclaimer here. And do we want to keep this Wasteland available? Or do we want to just play another Reclaimer? I think just play the other Reclaimer here and just have a bunch of options going forward. Just changing Outcast is kind of annoying. We can go and get a Maze of Ith, if that's a thing we have to do. Just the Outcast. Opponent's got 1 card in hand. Is it a ninja? And do we care if it is a ninja? So this will hit us for 2. But this Retrofit's Foundry is now off. So unless they draw a land here, I think we're golden. Sure, we'll take 2. They could draw a Shouldered's Edict as well. Oh no, I think we're just in. Alright, I think we're in. Oh no, they've got the Changing Outcast actually, haven't they? So they have to sacrifice a Changing Outcast to survive here. Because the Changing Outcast is all creature types, so it is the servo to turn into the Thopter. Forest, is that helpful? Not especially, but it's something we can sacrifice. So, and then we go to attacks. Attack with Marit Lage, so they have to sacrifice their Changing Outcast here. Yeah. So we get the unblockable creature off the board, which is real nice for us. We can't make our Marit Lage trample over anything, but got decent blockers there. Alright, we managed to get there. I think our opponent making the misclick on the Bowmasters might have helped us out quite a bit there. This would have been a lot tighter Otherwise, because we would have got ping for 1 and their creature would have been bigger. Alright, let's go to sideboarding. Ninjas, you say. I would like some removal for ninjas. I think the Collector Ouphe is interesting here, depending on how many retrofit or foundries they're playing. Because there's definitely some that we might want to deal with. Although Force of Vigor kind of does the same thing, but also kills Ornithopters in a pinch. Is that good enough for us? Maybe. Maybe we can keep the 1 Collector Ouphe here. I'm not convinced I want these libraries. Bojuka Bog isn't actually that useful in this matchup, so I'll take that one out. We have chokes, which are good. We have endurances, which are good. We're just boarding the same thing every game, aren't we here? So if we want these, we need to find a whole bunch of cuts. Do I think Collector Ouphe is good just to shut off the retrofitters? Or are we trying to deal with that with Force of Vigor? Force of Vigor is kind of better after the horse has bolted a little bit, so I think I'd rather have that. How do I feel about Reclaimers? We don't need Ramunap Excavator because we're not going to be wastelanding our opponent here. Crop rotations into the counterspell deck doesn't feel great either, and that's brought us to around 61. So I think we're going to run it like this. Sick and tired of playing Sylvan Libraries into Orcish Bowmasters every round. I could have left 1 Sylvan Library in, but I would 100% draw it because that's how things have been going. Double Mox Diamond into Green Sunset. Okay, I think we keep this. We got turn 1 Elvish Reclaimer, turn 2 Prophet, I guess, of some description. This Wasteland's not so good in this matchup, so we have something that we can happily pitch to the first Mox Diamond. And then we can just sort of see where we lie, because we're pretty close to Dark Depths combo. The Green Sun Zenith can get us there. Now there is a question of playing around days and how we want to handle that. Retrofit's Foundry. We did board out both the Collector Ouphe, didn't we? We did. Alright. Mox Diamond. Pitches Wasteland. I think we'll play this. We'll go and get a basic forest. Our opponent is a Wasteland deck. And we'll try one of these out. I imagine we're going to get a Daze or a Force of Will out of this one, which is fine by me because we've got 2 more. Oh no, we're just in. Alright, let's take Reclaimer. They probably have a Fatal Push, but that's mana that they're spending on killing our guy rather than activating the Retrofitter's Foundry. So I can kind of play that game. Push, maybe. Shoulder's Edict, sure. So we've soaked up our opponent's mana there. A Savannah. We could try and deploy a Knight. Or we can have another Reclaimer. We're playing the Thespian stage. The question is, are we playing Mox Diamond out here or not? That feels a little bit risky. But if we play the Mox Diamond out, we can do Green Sun Zenith for Knight. But I think Green Sun Zenith just for Elf is good enough here. And we can play it around Daze. Like, our opponent didn't Daze that because they had a removal spell. So let's try and get another Reclaimer. And if we draw a land, we can play a land and play a Mox Diamond and then have our Dark Depths combo ready to roll next turn. Ponder from our opponent. I'm relatively happy with the spot we're in. Our opponent can still have a Fatal Push though. Or a land, Shoulder's Edict. Bunch of stuff. Right, they're cracking a Prismatic Vista. And passing. Okay, interesting. Right, so it's our turn now. We did draw another land. So let's play this Mox Diamond. And pitch the Thespian stage. Then we'll play a Savannah. And then we'll pass our turn. We're representing a Marit Lage kill. But we can always just go and get some other value if our opponent keeps open their mana. We can just go and get Flagstones. Orcish Bowmasters, we don't care about that. So we need our opponent to tap out of black mana ideally. I don't believe they have Borrowers in their deck. Although Borrower's an okay thing to bounce to ninjas, but if you're running Shoulder's Edicts, that's kind of your slot for that. So I don't know where they would fit that in. And obviously bouncing Bowmasters. Alright, we got the game. So we're on the board now, so we can do 0-2 into 3-2 maybe, so let's just keep it rolling. Alright, this is our opening hand. We've got a pretty good access to a Dark Depths kill built into what we're working with here, and we don't even mind if the first crop rotation gets countered if it's on a Flagstone, so I think we'll keep this. We also have access to a Bojuka Bog potentially as well. Urza Saga. There's a lot of flavours of Urza Saga decks. It's sort of one of the big staples of the format, so we could be looking at Saga Storm. Okay, we're looking at some sort of painter deck. Understood. I'd like to draw another Green Sun Zenith, please. We did not draw another Green Sun Zenith. We are just going to wasteland our opponent here. The reason I want another Green Sun Zenith is because we can do the first one for a Dryad Arbor, then untap and do Collector Ouphe for the second one. There's a Razor Verge Thicket. Haywire Might. Okay. Orcish Bowboys. That is interesting. It means we're probably getting a buy off of this one, doesn't it? This gives us an emergency Bojuka Bog if we need it. Green White Painter. Pretty cool. Torpor Orb. pretty good against the old bow boys. You take one, that's no big deal. Let's get this Flagstones into play so we can crop rotate in our opponent's turn. Ancient Den. I think we are supposed to get the Collector Ouphe. See what they go for here. Painter's 7. Okay, so we're definitely dead next turn is what you're telling me, opponent. Unless they have a Maze of Diamond right now. Chooses blacks, we can't snuff it out. Not that we have snuff outs. Phyrexian Dreadnought. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Opponent's deck is real good, cool. So this needs to be a Bayou. We cast Crop Rotation, sacrificing this land. This can get us a Savannah. And then what do we want off of this one? Do we get a Maze of Ith here to keep ourselves alive? Probably wouldn't hurt, would it? So we get a Maze of Ith. No, it needs to be... No, we're not trying to Dark Depths this turn, aren't we? No, so we just get Maze of Ith, and then we go and get the Collector Ouphe. So I guess we play out the Thespian Stage here. And we Green Sun Zenith for Collector Ouphe. Shuts off our opponent's mana. We have the protection against the Dreadnought here. I would have liked to have got a Wasteland, ideally, to get rid of some of their stuff. Okay, they're only 1 mana away from being able to activate... Well, they can't activate the Grindstone because of the Collector Ouphe, but they're going to have the mana soon. And if they can remove our creature, we're in trouble. Right. Opponent's deck looks real cool. So we play the Flagstones. We can represent a kill next... We can kill them this turn, right? So we play Flagstones. We have 3 mana. Yeah, so we have the kill. We just need to pass through the turn and survive. Once Upon a Time. So this is their only spell for the turn. Unless they have an artifact, of course. Obviously, they don't have any mana left either. They revealed a Painter's Servant. So we know the 1 card in their hand, so we have this game sewn up. Say no to Phyrexian Dreadnought. Take 2 from Canonist. So then we float mana off of this one. Pay green. Crop rotate away this Flagstones. We'll go and get Dark Depths. This will copy this. Keep this one. Untap. Draw for turn. And we swing for 20. Alright, so we got game 1, which is certainly helpful. So, Force of Vigors, these come in. Collector Ouphe, this comes in. And then we have a selection of things that are varying levels of useful. So, if they're like heavily into Torpor Orbs, I'm not sure. They're probably going to have like the other guys, what they called Hushbringers as well. So I don't think I want Bow Boys. I just say no to Bow Boys. And then if we want this path to exile, we'll need another card here. They might have some amount of plows for us to contend with. But I think Wasteland Lock is good here. How useful is Bojuka Bog? They're a mono white deck. What are they going to be pulling out of their bin? Not much, I don't. Karakas, if they've got something like Oswald Fiddlebender, is definitely going to be worth it. So we'll keep that in. Endurance is one that can buy us a turn if they go super quick, but it obviously doesn't do anything sometimes. I think we're just going to have like a density of removal on our combo pieces. Alright, we got some amount of artifact hate here. So we can kill 3 things. We'll keep this hand. A Once Upon a Time. What are they going to find with it? A Painter's Servant. Alright. A Lotus Petal. Okay. We don't mind our opponent being down resources there. An Urza's Saga with no spell. Do I want to bin our crop rotation and get rid of both of their permanents? Certainly not opposed to that as a strategy. Is the crop rotation better to get rid of? I think so. Just say no to this. We've got a Prismatic Ending for the follow-up. Blacksmith Skill. Okay. So this gives this hexproof and indestructible. Understood, opponent. Alright, we drew a Wasteland. Sure. I don't think we want to Mox Diamond out just yet. Our opponent going to follow up with Razor's Thicket and no play. Dark Depths. That's something I'm interested in later. I think we just play out the Savannah right now. We can jam the Mox Diamond whenever the time is right. We're not actually casting anything off it yet, so we're going to have most information possible when we play it, and our opponent might have ways of interfering with it, like Prismatic Ending, for example. There is a Mox Opal. We have a choice if we blow this up or not, though. A Green Sun Zenith. Okay. This is a useful one. So we'll play this one out, pitching this, and then we will go for the Ouphe. It does shut off our own Mox Diamond, which is awkward, but it's worth it. All right. We lose that guy. Right, there's a Saga's back again. I would like to draw a mana source so we can Prismatic Ending the whole and get back our Reliquary into play. I think we are into playing the Reclaimer. That's ending the hole here. And pass. Okay, there is a Saga's ticking up. If they don't have a land, they can't make a thing. Okay, so there's a Painted Servant we've known about for a little while. What are they going to name here? Black, sure. They're worried about Snuff Out. Reasonable. Thespian Stage. So I think we just jam the Knight here. The other option is just to hold up Sejiri Steppe with our Reclaimer. I think this is a reasonable time to tap out for our Knight of the Reliquary, because otherwise we're going to be in a similar position thinking about whether or not we can tap out next turn. Pithing Needle. This can name Knight of the Reliquary, Thespian Stage, or Elvish Reclaimer. All of them are pretty good names. I think it might be the Thespian Stage. Yes, it is. Okay, they don't want to just get bopped by the combo. That's pretty understandable. Okay, so is there a way that we can put a card into our graveyard land-wise? I don't think so. I'm playing this one out. Then we go to attacks. We serve in with the big boy. And I think we hold back the Reclaimer so we can protect with Sejiri Steppe, like we mentioned before. Because as long as this Collector Ouphe is alive, our opponent can't combo us out. Now, they can still play some stuff and make a Phyrexian Dreadnought, which is something we'll have to deal with when the time comes, potentially. But they need another mana source, a Torpor Orb, and the Dreadnought. Or whatever enabler they have, if they're running Hushbringers or whatever. Do we think our opponent's running Plow here or not? I think we just hold it up. Like, that's how we lose this game. As long as this is up, we aren't losing the game. Now, if we draw our Sejiri Steppe, that's going to be awkward. Also, all of their permanents are black because of Painted Servant. So, if they have a colourless answer to our Collector Ouphe, we can still protect our Collector Ouphe with Sejiri Steppe. Dark Depths, you say? I'll play it. We're just on the slow beats here. But we're just keeping ourselves protected as best we can. Forest, sure. Coming in for 4. Alright, now they are deciding to block with their Painted Servant. Swords to Plowshares on our Collector Ouphe. Guess we sacrifice the Forest. Sejiri Steppe. Protection white. So that's why we've been holding that up for the whole time. We can remove some counters off our Dark Depths if we're interested. But we have lethal in play now. Alright, our opponent says we got it. Cool, just having a chat with my opponent. They're going to send me their deck list, because I kind of like painted decks, as you probably know, and I've been looking for something new to do with white painting, because I don't think it's very good in Bowmaster Town. Alright, so we're 2-2 now. One more for the 3-2. Let's go. Alright, our opening hand for the final round is pretty reasonable. We got Bowmasters, a couple of removal spells, and Zenith. I will keep this. We are on the draw. So we get a little bit more information about what our opponent's up to first. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This looks like Reanimator. Uh-oh. This is probably going to be very hard to win game 1, but that's most decks against Reanimator. They're casting it, target themselves. Okay, so we're not having to give up any information. Okay, so they're a Shallow Grave build. How bad is this going to be for us? You going to draw another 7, opponent? I think they probably are. Alright, we're going to scoop to this. I don't think we can beat our opponent's start here. And I don't want them to get any information about what we're playing. Alright, looks like it's going to be a quicker league than last time I played this deck, so that's nice. So, we have these things. We have some Endurances too. Deafening Silence definitely has some non-irrelevant text. Or relevant text if you wish. But this is less important than some of the other things. Sylvan Library is a bit too slow to be messing around with. Collector Ouphe, this is not the matchup for it. Ramunap Excavator, probably not the most exciting thing we can be doing, to be honest. Sylvan Safekeeper, we don't need that one. Crop rotations, we definitely need. Plows, okay. Endings, we don't really need those. We'll keep in the plows in case they switch to the Doughty Voidwalker type plans. Bowmaster's pretty good against Grizzlebrand. Karakas obviously very good. Maze of Ith can keep us alive. So it's probably the Ramunap Excavator that goes here. And then we've still got to find 2 more cuts. Wowzers, trousers. Maybe we are supposed to cut some number of plows here. Or are we trimming on the combo? We can take out a Dark Depths and a Thespian Stage here. Because that's not really how we're going to win this game for the most part. We just kind of stop what our opponent's doing, I think. We still have the ability to tutor for them, which is generally how we're going to assemble that anyway. It just means we're not going to get stuck with them in hand. We do have 2 fewer lands for our Mox Diamonds, but I think that's still fine. 26 lands. We can operate relatively well on 2 to 3 mana sources. Come on, deck. Thoughtseize we can't cast. Just a Surgical Extraction. I don't think Surgical Extraction alone is good enough. I think we have to mulligan. Bojuka Bog and Surgical Extraction is slightly better. I think we can keep this and get rid of probably the Wasteland. I think it has to be the Wasteland here. This matchup's going to be a little bit tough. So we can do something with our Green Sun Zenith this turn if we want to. Question is, do we want to? Do we want to go and get a Dryad Arbor right now and give us potential Night next turn? Or Orcish Bowmasters plus Bojuka Bog next turn? That sounds alright to me. I'm going to do this and get ourselves a cheeky little Dryad Arbor. Our opponent's probably thinking, okay, this should be pretty easy. A little green fair deck. It's the sort of thing that Ramunap can really prey on because you can't interact with them that effectively. Now, we do have Graveyard Hate, you know, we've got Endurances and Faerie Macabre and the Surgical and things. But a single discard spell is all they need, whereas blue decks have Graveyard Hate and counter spells, which tends to be a bit more effective. Just our normal tools that we play, you know, in game one aren't very helpful in this matchup. Badlands. Faith is Looting. Faith is Looting, pass. Put two monsters in the bin and pass. That's what we want to see here. And then we can play this Bojuka Bog and get these Bowmasters going. And still have the Surgical Extraction after all that. Exhume and Faith is Looting. Okay. That's interesting to see. I think I am going to play this Bojuka Bog now and just strip out these cards. And then we're going to hold up the Bowmasters. Now, this isn't the ideal use of Bojuka Bog, but we can't instant speed it with like any sort of, what's the word, crop rotation-y, tutory type effects. We can't do that. It's in our hand. So snagging two Faithless Lootings, which they were hoping to use later to fix their hand, is an okay approach here. Now, they might just be going for a show and tell line, which will probably beat us. All right, we're going to get this Bow Boys in response, I think, here. Let's ping them a little bit. We still have the Surgical Extraction in our pocket as well. Our opponent's doing this before casting any discards, so we're going to have, right, no creatures. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the show and tell plan coming off of our opponent there. This does give us a pretty sizable clock, though. What we got for us deck? It's not really that helpful. Let's play the Flagstones out and go attacks. Right, the more life we can take off of them, the less effective things like Reanimate become. So our opponent's turn, let's see what they're up to. They can flash back this Faithless Looting if they want to. Unmask targeting us. This is an interesting one. What do we get rid of here? Get rid of one of their reanimation spells. I think is probably the best we have here. Alright, our opponent's on some cool stuff over there. Let's have a look at their list. Kind of simple. So the Sauron the Dark Lord is a new one. So this is Ward. You have to sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature to target it. It's a 7/6. When an opponent casts a spell, amass Orcs 1. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to your player, the ring tempts you. When the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand and draw 4 cards. So our opponent is going to put that guy into play now. Not a big fan of that. Here it comes. I guess we'll put in this Plains. Not very exciting. And now put in Sauron the Dark Lords. This is whenever an opponent casts a spell, you amass. Okay. This is worth casting a spell for. Sure, you can have an Orc. Ooh, this is going to be a little bit painful for them. So we're going to get 2 bow people triggers here. So we can take out their Orc army and then ping them for 1. Alright. They can't attack because they'll be dead on the backswing. Windswept Heath. So what are we doing here? We can go and get... If we go and get Sejiri Steppe, we can hit them for 6. That's not enough. So I think we are... Just passing the turn, then using the knight at our opponent's end step to gain some advantage of some description. We can't target it because of the ward on it. Okay, so I think we will sacrifice this Plains to go and get a Thespian stage and just Dark Depths them out. As good as anything, isn't it? Thoughtseize, don't really want to cast that. Our opponent's card in hand is Animate Dead. We'll play this land and I guess we'll pass. And then in our opponent's end step, we will make a Marit Lage and we will kill our opponent with it. Okay, our opponent's on 7 life now. Entomb. Okay. What are they getting here? We can't Bojuka Bog because it's already gone. Atraxa. We have that beaten on board. Okay. So we make a 20/20, then we bounce the Atraxa with Karakas. Let's see what they find though. Don't think they play lands. They can show and tell in a Grizzlebrand, but that doesn't do anything because drawing cards is going to be bad against the Bowmaster. And they're on 7 life exactly. Wear Tear doesn't do it. Yeah, I think we're just sorted here. So they keep Entomb, Lotus Petal, Blue Delta's already gone. Exhume. They kept Grizzlebrand. So Masker's gone. There's a Lotus Petal. What do they have here? We did see their deck earlier. Archon of Cruelty. We have that beat as well. We can get rid of Dryad Arbor, as good as anything. And this can ping them for 1. Both these creatures are black, so we can sail through with a Sejiri Steppe. So what does this do? Whenever an army you control deal combat damage to a player, whenever the ring tempts you, you may draw 4 cards. So we can just take 7 here. We don't want anything to go wrong. Let's do some Dark Depths in. Sacrifice our Bayou. Go and get Sejiri Steppe. Give our Marit Lage pro black. And we sail through. Alright. One more game to rule them all. Yeah, it's going to be a bit tough versus the old show and tell. Are we supposed to put more combo pieces in to try and help that? I think we're just supposed to submit, to be honest. I think we've got as good a chance as any. What do we have here? We have 1 piece of Graveyard Hates. We have a piece of Hand Disruption. Our opponent is mulligan to 6 cards. I will keep this. We can Thoughtseize and Faerie Macabre. If our opponent has the nuts of just turn 1, make you discard, Entomb, Reanimate, then sure, we lose. And, you know, just live with that, I guess. If they can just put something like an Archon of Cruelty into play, we can Plowshares that, and it's not the end of the world either. Let's see how bad it is. Dire Ritual. Okay, it's looking like worst case scenario. Doughty Voidwalker. Okay, that's fine. We don't actually mind that one. We've got follow-up here. An Unmask targeting us. Sure. What would you like, opponent? I took the Faerie Macabre. And they're casting an Entomb. Alright. But they are hellbent. We have a Green Sun Zenith. Is that what we want to do right now? I don't think so. Do we want to plow their guy now? Or do we want to hold out for something worse? I think we are... We can Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor here. How does Doughty Voidwalker work with X spells? I think it's just a... They would have to put the X in. I don't think they can just go and get an attract throughout their deck. If they have a discard spell, I would like to fire off this Source to Plowshares in response. So I think we are just passing. So we'll take the hit for 3 and then see what happens in their second main phase. I'll plow this. So our opponent has a card in hand. This could be a giant monster. It could be a 2-mana reanimation spell. I think with the fact that we have the Plowshares, maybe we're supposed to... We do need to get this Green Sun's End, because we go and get the guy this turn, the Reclaimer. Next turn we have Bojuka Bog lined up. If our opponent has a 2-mana reanimation spell and are just trying to find their land, then we're going to be in the same spot next turn as well, aren't we? So I think we are in make the guy rather than Thoughtseize them here. And if our opponent's got it, they've got it. But this means that from next turn onwards, they can't have it. And we don't want to see a land from our opponent here. Alright, we're in. Okay, we can play Flagstones. We can Thoughtseize to see what they're working with over there. A Grief and a Doughty Voidwalker. Neither of these matter to me right now. And we'll pass a turn. We have an interesting choice now if we go and get the Bojuka Bog right now. We're definitely cracking this end of turn for something. Oh, they're just scooping it up right now. Alright, we got the 3-2 in the end. So we finished with the same record as when I recorded this before and the sound didn't record. So at least we ended up with the same record. And once again, if you would like to see that 3-2 league, I'll upload it as like a bonus content on a Saturday. Just let me know if you actually want it. It'll be like double speed with a little bit of editing and maybe like a minute or 2 of me talking at the start, but then it'll all be silent. So if that's the thing you're interested in, let me know. Now let's talk about this deck. So this deck is better than the version I played before, in my opinion, because I played against the mirror and we only had 3 knights in that other build and that was no good. I think I wanted the 4th knight and we had 3 libraries and you saw how much of a liability library is. So that was nice to have the differences here. Also, the Maze of Ith in this deck I think is a really useful tool to have, and I definitely lost in the mirror because our opponent had access to just better things and more of the better things. That being said, a deck like this clearly has weaknesses, right? So what we lost to were just 2 decks that just cast removal spells most turns. And one of those decks just won off our own thing. They made our Grist on turn 1, and we just couldn't beat it. Whereas the things in their own deck, we might have been able to beat, because they're not really a threat deck. But Grist just provided a very potent threat, whereas we had other things covered like Uro and Bowmasters and stuff. We could play around that, but the Grist was just too much. So, you know, decks are going to have weaknesses. We also can get a bit caught out by combo decks that go underneath us because we don't really have that much interaction, which is why we've got, you know, all these Macabres. We got Macabre, Surgical, and the 3 Endurances, and the Deafening Silence as ways of trying to help that, as also the Collector Ouphe and the Force of Vigor. These are all sort of cards that are in and around the combo ballpark, depending on what the combo is. And we have Thought Seizers as well, which is kind of one of the reasons to play black. It helps your combo match up a little bit by having the access to the hand disruption. But I quite like this build. It's not my specific flavour of Dark Depths decks. I am obviously more of a Turbo Depths guy, as you know if you watch my channel, but I still think that this deck is very solid. Is it better than the Naya Depths with Minsc and Boo? That I'm not sure, because Minsc and Boo is such a powerful card, really. And it gives you lines of like throwing your Dark Depths for damage and stuff like that. Or sorry, your Marit Lage off your Dark Depths for damage. So I think it's not necessarily worse, but it definitely has a different spread of matchups, this one, right? Orcish Bowmasters is clearly a very powerful card. What I will say in these leagues is we got jammed up a lot by our own Sylvan Library. We spent the mana on it and then it didn't get to do anything. Now, when we did actually remove our opponent's Bowmasters and got to activate Library once or twice, then it was great and it really pulled us ahead. So I don't think it's necessarily a liability, but in some matchups, the time you spend playing the Sylvan Library, the time and mana you spend doing that, can end up costing you if you're getting tempoed out. Whereas other cards can impact the board more reliably. So I think that's definitely something to consider going forward. Maybe we should be just playing 4 Bowmasters and then cut down our library to 1. I'm not sure. Again, this isn't my deck, and the people who play decks or decks like this more regularly will have a much better opinion of it. So like I said at the start, check out the Mutts93's Twitter account. They post about Magic quite a bit. I will put it in the description, so check them out and see what their thoughts are on it. And if you want to ask them more about it, I'm sure they'll be glad to talk about it, as well as Doge's channel, which I'll link. He is a far better Green Sun Zenith player than I am. So he's played this ABZAN deck. I don't think he's played this exact build, or at least it hasn't got up on the YouTube account yet. But when it does go up, or if you watch his other ABZAN videos, he'll give you a much more detailed breakdown of how the deck works and feels and problems with it, because he's got more experience with this sort of archetype. So definitely check out his channel. I did like the sideboard tools we had access to today. I think having additional removal was just a really good place to be. So the Path to Exile, and also the fact that we squeezed into Prismatic Ending into the main deck. Second Collector Ouphe also quite nice, because a lot of decks can answer a Collector Ouphe, but sometimes 2 is just enough to get the job done where they can't really get through it. So, you know, you can't have too much of a good thing sometimes, right? The Graveyard Hate is, like, I guess we got there, right? But that was partly due to the fail rate of our opponent's deck, I think, because their hand in Game 3 wasn't great, in my opinion. Now, they did mulligan, and maybe that was kind of the best that they had to work with. Even so, I don't know if you can reliably build this deck in a way that you're going to beat the sort of the top 25% of reanimated hands. It's just not going to happen. Like, the ceiling and floor on the reanimated decks are very far apart, and it's borderline impossible to beat their god hands, but, you know, they don't always have them. Like, Leyline is an interesting one if you want that as an effect, because they can't just discard out your hand, but they do have answers for it. So it's a tricky one to navigate sometimes. Nevertheless, we finished 3-2. I'm relatively happy with that. We managed to kill someone with a 20-20, so you know I'm happy and pleased, because if there's one thing I love doing, it's smashing people with Marit Lage. So I think we are done for today. If you enjoyed this one, give us a like and maybe give me a comment. Let me know if you want to see the silent video I recorded, and I'll get round to that if enough people are interested. But otherwise, I won't bother, and I'll delete off my hard drive, because not necessarily sure people want to go inside. There was a really cool mirror match, but without the commentary, maybe it's not for you. Anyway, I'll stop rambling on about that. So like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon. Why not join my Discord? Check out the other links for the people I mentioned earlier. And have a lovely day and play some Legacy. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.